We'll call the regular meeting of the Upshur County Commission to order. We'll begin with a moment of silent meditation and prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have no minutes ready today, so we will start with our esteemed guest, Mr. Gary Rapking and/or Craig Presor with the West Virginia University Extension Office, Program and Budget Review. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Of course, we're coming here. Our primary reason to be here this morning is to go over budget, which I sometimes think I spend too much time on this because most of you know the history of extension pretty well. But cooperative extension, the name comes not that we always get along, but it's a cooperative effort from federal, state, and local support. And we really do believe that's what has assisted us in being a successful program for many years. We're celebrating a century in many areas with extension related to 4-H and land-grant college. And the purpose, the original purpose, and we still believe it's a very important purpose, is to get education and get service where it's needed, at the grassroots, where the people can learn without having to go to a university. Of course, at one time it was more difficult to do that, but it's still much in need that we, particularly for our youth, and obviously we still put a good bit of emphasis on our agriculture sector as well. But for many other areas, it's important that we do education service right here at the county level. So you are such an integral part of that, certainly with your monies, but also with your support in so many other ways. So we do always want to make sure we show our appreciation for what you've done. And it's not always like that, as I've told you probably every year as well in every county, that sometimes there doesn't seem to be an understanding of that we're on the same page with what we're working toward and the goals we're working toward for our youth and for the citizens of this county. What I'm going to do is let Craig talk about really one of the mainstays of our program, the 4-H and youth development, and then I'll go over a little bit what I work with, and then we'll do the budget part of it. That'll work. Thanks.
Morning.
Good morning.
I am Craig Presor, 4-H agent here in Upshur County. 4-H and youth development agent, I guess is the official title. Mr. Brady, you're not quite as familiar with us as some of the others. They've heard this all before, but we've got a fairly strong 4-H program in Upshur County. We're right in line with what folks in other counties are doing as far as numbers and size and things like that. One of the things we're proud of with our 4-H program is that we work a lot with I don't know if non-traditional education is the way you want to say that. That sounds a little bit more like we're talking about working with adults. But outside of the traditional school setting, we work real hard at providing educational opportunities in a fun way with our kids, with Upshur County's kids. One of the ways we do that is through our project work, and that's the traditional. That is what 4-H is all about. Years ago, the land-grant universities wanted to find a way to get farmers to change the way they work with their crops, and so they discovered that adults weren't quite so willing to listen to new ideas and new technologies. So they said, well, we'll work with the kids, and so they got the kids together in corn clubs and tomato clubs, showed them the new ways to work with those crops. And soon the kids were out producing their parents, and so the parents decided to listen then. So that's exactly how 4-H got started, kind of sneaking in adult education in through the back door. We're doing a little bit of that now. Sometimes we're working with kids now on new technologies. We're focusing on engineering and robotics. that's a particular joy of mine. I get paid to work with kids and play with Legos and build robots, which is any former geek's, any grown-up geek's dream is to work with kids and play with toys for a living. So we've got our robotics program going really strong here in Upshur County. We're getting ready to start after-school programs, combining Lego robotics with ecology kinds of things and conservation kinds of things. It's called the Green City Challenge, and so with our robots we're going to be learning about non-fossil alternative energy sources and those kinds of things. So stay tuned for that. Gary did mention that we're in our 100th anniversary, the 100 years celebration of 4-H and Extension in Upshur County. 4-H has been around a little bit longer than that. 2002 was the official 100th anniversary of 4-H, but here in Upshur County, 4-H and Extension moved to Upshur County in 1913, so we're getting ready to do some celebrations with that. This summer at camps we're going to focus on that a little bit, and certainly early in the fall we'll have some county-wide celebrations, so we're excited about bringing those kinds of events too. We work with about 250 youth in Upshur County. We have 14 clubs in just about every area of the county. We'd like to see some more club work in the Tallmansville area. We do have the Tallmansville Racers there, but we have anything out in the Washington District? Washington District, well, that's Tallmansville. Where am I thinking? What's the hole we're facing right now? We got Rock Cave taken care of. We got Elmore taken care of. We're good. We're everywhere.
So, Alexander now. So.
We've got a new club out in the Alexander area. So we are trying to reach as many kids as possible and do those kinds of things. We're also talking a little bit about healthy lifestyles and citizenship. So the technology, the citizenship, and healthy lifestyles are the three big mission mandates on the national level of 4-H. But we're excited. Our numbers are growing. Camp continues to be a strong, exciting time in Upshur County for Upshur County youth. And, we're excited and very pleased with the support that you've shown us in the past and continue to. I also work with the CEOS programs. We don't have a families and health agent in Upshur County. We're only a 2-agent county. Gary works with ag, and we split our families and health responsibilities. So Gary does a lot of work with the Dining with Diabetes program, and I work with the CEOS program, the Continuing Educational Opportunities System, which used to be Extension Homemakers. And the thing we're most proud of with that is that continues to be a strong program. Our population is aging. We're looking at ways to attract newer and younger members. So any suggestions you have on that would be welcome. One of the things we're very proud of is the amount of community service that our that our CEOS members provide. Last year, we provided over 26,000 hours of volunteer service in Upshur County, and that's nothing to sniff at. We're very proud of the participation of those members and the role they play in our community as well. I tend to ramble, so I'm going to step off. Do you have any questions about those sections of Extension or anything else that we?
No, I just personally like to commend Extension for all they do for the citizens of Upshur County. I think it's one of the best uses of tax dollars and collaboration between all levels of government that comes right down to the grassroots to where it has the greatest impact. You know, they say all government is local, and with Extension, all the services of Extension are local, and that's the most beneficial, I think, the biggest bang for the buck. So we appreciate all that everyone does.
We appreciate your support as well. Gary's going to talk a little bit more and do the official ask for money.
Yeah, we'll try to get through this part as quick as we can because we understand you've got things to move on to, and we're here for the budget primarily. I do want to just briefly go over program areas where you ought to be very proud as the commission, programs that you've worked with over the years. And I thought I was just going to be an interim. I came back into Extension when it was about retirement age, and the interim's turned into almost a decade now, so sometimes life doesn't work out exactly as you plan. But think for a moment what you've been involved in as a commission. I'll name 3 here, but there have been many more. Just obviously your support of the program in totality is important, but youth livestock. When I came here, not what I did, but when I came here, there were 4, I think, taking livestock projects in 4-H, and FFA was about the same way as far as livestock programs. Mostly because we did not have a place to show and sell our own animals in the county. And look with collaboration now by using county property to keep our costs down, finding a place, that we can use the parking of the school. Some people complain it's a little bit hidden away, but I personally don't see that that's a real problem. We've grown to over 100 projects now that we're selling at the Youth Livestock Show and Sale. We do it for education. The kids learn a great deal from having to take the responsibility of raising animals, but it's also creating over $70,000 in the youth pockets today, for this year, and it's growing every year since we began. I'll bring one example to you. Jessica Harvey is going to finish up at Wesleyan with a double degree in biology and chemistry. And she's going to go on to, I think I can say this, got a lot of cameras here, so I think I'm right about this, but she'll be going on to vet school. And we're real proud of her. But a great deal of her funding for her education, and it will continue to be as she goes on, has come through the Youth Livestock Project. She's taken a ton of animals through the years. And of course, parents have helped to cover the costs in some cases, but those are the kind of examples that we really are proud of, and you should be proud as a commission because you had such an integral part in making that work. Let's move on to farmland preservation. We are losing our farmland way too quickly in the country and in this county. We realize there's some issues to work with. We need land to develop, but also we believe strongly that this combination of small towns and farmland and forest land make for a really good place to grow up and raise our youth and to live. And we're losing the farmland quicker than anything else in that setting. And you've stepped up, one of the few counties in the interior of the state to step up and start to work toward preservation of farmland. So we appreciate that. The place that we now call home for the WVU Extension Service, that you should be proud of that. A place where now it's accessible to get to. It's a beautiful place to be, great meeting area. There's not a county that has anything that is better than what we have if we want to have bragging rights. So we appreciate that support that you've given to us.
I think this spring we'll have the facade repaired from the car accident. It's been a long time in coming. The insurance people discussed among themselves and other things, but I think that'll be taken care of.
We're appreciative enough, but we're not going to push. We didn't push that. That's going to let you take care of that when that got taken care of. As far as obviously, my job is primarily to work with agriculture and natural resources. We are a county that has, depending on what the county is, at least 270 farms. We still have a goodly number of livestock farms. And let's, for a moment, just look what they do. Our sale of livestock is one of the largest in the state. So that the dollars are left in this county because animals are taken to market every week. Farmers are so good about buying and selling locally. So they're going to go to a business and buy most of their supplies on a local basis. And we need to remind ourselves how important that is to a small community and to small businesses as well. So it's a difficult life. It's a difficult way to make a living. Most livestock people don't make their sole living off of livestock, but it still has a very important place in what we do. For our topography, I think it's pretty amazing what farmers do. We take a product of grass that we can't do anything much with. If we tried to grow crops like they do in Ohio on our hillsides, it would all wash into the streams pretty quickly. So we take grass, and the farmer allows this animal to convert it into a very valuable product in meat. So that's our biggest commodity at this time. My work, though, has been, since so many other people within Extension work with livestock, we certainly do that a great deal in this county, but I'm working quite a bit as well with local growing. That is starting to get to take root. USDA is starting to show a great deal of support for local growing products. A lot of that goes into products that are grown in your gardens, and you can convert your garden into a moneymaker if you want to do that. There's a program now called Farm to School, where local schools where you don't have to have a contract or a large amount of produce in order to be able to sell directly to the schools. It's built into the system. We just had a meeting a couple of days ago where the representative from schools came and talked to us about that possibility of doing that, and there are some that are already pursuing that. The farmers market, we now have an ideal location. We're going through some growing pains with it, but we really believe that that's going to grow and be very successful in the future. My point, I guess, with local growing is I can work with someone who maybe not even be on a farm right now that can take a small piece of ground and with a high tunnel or using row covers or small tunnels or whatever terms we want to use, they can put dollars in their pocket. We're pretty fortunate as a county as far as our income, but we still have a lot of people that need to create some money for their families. And my approach is that I'd like to see that person be able to perhaps have another job and still without too much investment be able to add another $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 at least into their pocket. Actually go into their pocket, not just make it on paper. So that's been my emphasis through a great deal of the time that I've been here is try to work with local growing production. Well, folks, that is, we promised to be brief, and I don't know that I've done that, so I appreciate your time listening to us. We're going to pass out a budget in the sense, Willie, that it still has Jill's salary amounts on it and reimbursement, so it's not going to be very accurate. It's just a guideline, and we'll go by and you'll get the official forms from it a little later, but at least it's something we can work from right now. The reason we had to go ahead and put ours in is approval has to be made by Extension Service Committee, which oversees our budget as well, and that had to be done a few.
Thank you, Gary.
Hunting, Gary. Just give both to me and I can pass them over. Thank you.
So we had to go ahead and put a number in there, but you don't, probably not any reason, Willie, to try to come up with that number today, is there? But that will be less. It'll be quite a bit less. Our budget is down a little bit from what we asked for last year. A great part of that is because Mavis is no longer using insurance to the county, so that helped with our budget quite a bit right there. And then with the filling of Jill's position, that's going to make a good bit of difference in the budget, but we don't know what figure to put in at this moment. Tomorrow we're going to be interviewing folks for that position. We're appreciative of Mavis. She works primarily with Craig with 4-H, but she's had to step up and do it all here, and we do that in the office anyway. We share responsibilities, and she's had to put on a lot of hats to get us to this point. So we're looking forward to getting that position filled. So that means the clerical, the very top line, that will change and will go down. We don't know how much, but that'll be less. Other than that, the proposal you see before you is what the Extension Service Committee agreed to as a proposal for our budget. So let me stop talking, and if you have any questions, I'd be glad. Craig and I probably can try to answer them, or we can get out of your way.
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Yours is one of the more simple budgets. It's, a lot of it's personnel, and we appreciate you all living within your budget and not asking for big increases every year. So I think in relationship to that and what Extension does provide to the community, that it's money well invested back into the community. So do you gentlemen have any questions or comments?
I'd like to echo, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'd like to echo Donnie's comments about we live in a rural environment. We're very fortunate, in my opinion, to live in a rural environment. Today's fast-paced, urbanization that we live in, statistics show that more and more people are becoming urbanized. You have environmentalists who are now proponents of urbanization for means of transportation, other things that they believe will leave a smaller carbon footprint. But in my opinion, I prefer to be in a rural environment. And the services that the Extension Service provide, and going far back into 1867 when the land grant system was initiated, I think it's served us well in this country, education especially, to the poor and to those individuals that didn't early on have an opportunity to get an education, but have been afforded either college education or training.
Yeah, I really appreciate that perspective. We've come a long way, and I think it's due to this foresight. There used to be a time when living in a rural area was a third-class way of living, from utilities to everything else that we take for granted now, and that's all changed. Now most of us feel very fortunate to live in what we call a rural county.
Well, in Craig's application there, the technology and robotics, that's come a far way from the agricultural and mechanical schools of the 1860s and 1870s.
Just a little, yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your efforts.
Thanks.
Thank you all for your outstanding work, effort, and making this well worthwhile.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. And now we have Jody Akers and Renee Warner, Upshur County Board of Education, review and approval of Prevention Resource Officer Pro-Grant. Morning, ladies.
Good morning.
I'm certain, Jody, you appreciated the vegetables and the agricultural aspect of that presentation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm pleased to be here once again and asking for your continued support for our Prevention Resource Officer grant that we have in place at Buchanan Upshur Middle School. As you're aware, we've had the Prevention Resource Officer at our high school since 2009-10, and that was started with a grant, and then the Board of Education has picked up that salary so we can continue those efforts. We are going to be asking for the maximum amount that we can ask for under this grant this year is $28,000. It has increased from $20,000 from last year. And the Board of Education has supported to pick up the remainder balance of that salary of $32,000. So we're going to well exceed our match that we need of $9,333. We're asking your continued support with your officer and with the equipment that you provide. It's an invaluable resource to our school system, and we just can't thank you enough for assisting us with that. Mrs. Warner here in a few minutes is going to go over the goals that we have and the reductions that we've seen already in just 1 year at the middle school with having our officer C.J. Day there. We're seeing that our students are becoming more knowledgeable about their responsibilities as a student. We're seeing the number of our violent acts decreasing, which is wonderful. The number of our discipline infractions are also going down, and CJ has been very effective in helping our students learn the skills and tactics of avoiding conflicts. So we are definitely seeing great things going on, and I'm going to let Mrs. Warner talk a little bit about our goals. And then I've left Mr. Parker with the agreement, the grant application, and our Board of Education agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you, Jody.
I am Renee Warner. I'm the principal at the middle school, and as Mrs. Akers said, we started out with baseline data from 2010-2011, and when we wrote the first grant, our goals were attainable, small. Last year, in 2011-12, we had 226 truancy offenses, which was a 37% decrease from that baseline data. This year to middle of February, that has dropped to 134 truancy offenses, and that's a 63% decrease from that original baseline data. And that we believe that CJ's presence at the middle school is making a huge difference, and the numbers are bearing out that way. In our disciplinary infractions in 2010-11, again, our goal was small, a 10% decrease. In 11-12, we had 172 offenses, which was a 24% decrease in infractions. And to date, in the middle of February, we've had 158 of those violent offenses, and that is a 52% decrease from that original baseline data. And then reduction in alcohol, tobacco, drug use. in possession. In 2011-12, we had 21 offenses. That was a 24% increase from the previous year, but this year so far only 8, which is a 52% decrease from that baseline data. So we've been really excited about his presence, about the collaboration that we've had. We actually are going to leave here and go to a pro-grant meeting where we collaborate with the prosecuting attorney's office, and we've also, of course, had our collaboration with the commission, the Upshur County Board of Education, the sheriff's office. I mentioned the juvenile prosecuting attorney, DHHR, and the juvenile probation office. So we're really excited about that collaboration. And CJ has been not just a presence to help reduce those numbers, but he has established relationships with our staff and our students that we're finding to be invaluable. We have kids that will go to him before they'll go to anybody else to report a bullying incident or a problem at school, or even personal problems they're having at home. And so he's just been someone that I don't want to lose. So we appreciate your support.
Well, I think it's a great program. It's a shame that society has come to the point that something like that's needed. But it's great to see that this program has such positive effects on our community, on our children, and those positive influence that start there in the school will I'm sure, carry on into their adult lives and hopefully, provide for more productive community citizens in the future. So I think that even though you see benefits now, I think the benefits later are going to be greater. So we certainly appreciate what you all do and what the Pro Officer program does, and we're certainly glad and proud to be able to participate in a program that has such a positive impact on our kids. So thank you very much. You all have any questions? Or?
No, I just think it's outstanding that it's working as well as it is. The numbers show it's definitely working. And when you make a difference at the young age, it carries on through life. So you have less problems at the high school, and it is a great program. And I am so glad that we're involved in it. Thank you all.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the younger age. We're excited to see what the transition is going to be like now that we've had Officer Day in place this year, and what the transition for our 8th graders going into 9th grade will be. They're used to the pro officer. They'll be used to the pro officer at the high school, and we're hoping that transition is smoother than it's been in the past. We're also looking forward to Officer Hebb and Officer Day going into the 5th grade to help them with the transition to the middle school for this upcoming year.
And it's outstanding, I think, that students go to CJ, get his opinion, even on problems at home.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's there. I'm glad it's working out so well.
Me too.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we'll need a motion to approve the grant application.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any questions, comments on it, Willie? Or?
Nope, everything's in line.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Okay, our next scheduled meeting is at 1 o'clock, Upshur County Policy Board and elected officials meeting. 2 o'clock, our supervisors meeting. But in the meantime, we have some items for discussion and possible action. The first being Upshur County project list for approval and/or adjustment as needed with regard to assignment of local need points as to the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy for Region 7 Planning and Development Council on pages 1 through 4. Okay, so we talked last week about making the change between Adrian PSD and splitting that. So, Willie, did we need to change our points in order to make that accommodation?
Talking to Region 7 Planning and Development Council, they're recommending that Adrian stay at the project, the top project, because they haven't completed their grant funding request. They have through the Small Cities Block Grant Program. but through the West Virginia Infrastructure Council.
So keep that at 25.
Yeah, and then the Elkins Road can still apply for the Small Cities Block Grant. You can still be, they can be your #1 project for Small Cities Block Grant funding. And we sent in the request for a waiver to apply this year for Small Cities Block Grant funding for the Elkins Road PSD. And so that process can still begin and start.
But it's still a lengthy process.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if they're awarded in the first year.
They never have been.
Nobody ever
No.
has been that I'm aware of.
2, 3, or 4 is usually the fastest, and 5 or 6 the norm. So, okay, we can only have one 25-point project,
Yes.
and then the rest we have at 20. So I think that that's about the way we're going to have to do it, unless there's some other project someone has in mind, because we have the wellness complex, the regional airport, and the Tarrant PSD sewer, each receiving 20 points along with Elkins Road PSD. Is there any other comments on this? If not, then I'd ask the motion that we approve the points as stated.
I'll make that move. I'll move to maintain that as listed.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Approval of Armory rental agreement for Office of Emergency Management and Management's exercise, and authorize James Ferry or James Farrell to sign usage documents on page 5.
There's no cost involved with it. It's an agreement that they require signature on, and I'll request a certificate of insurance so we can present that also.
Is this for the big exercise this summer,
It's March.
well, that's summer.
The Bluestone Dam exercise has been canceled.
Right.
Or delayed at least, and so they have to go through another exercise as it were due to the EMPG grant
Right.
requirements. So they were going to be using this anyway as it relates to the Bluestone Dam exercise, but that part has been delayed, so now they're refocusing the exercise.
On the local aspect,
Yes.
basically.
It'll consist of around 15 to 20 counties participating.
Yeah,
The state postponed the Bluestone Dam exercise, the second time, I believe.
Well, I
But the
just hope the
other,
dam, I hope the dam holds.
but the exercise and its impact on Upshur County and the other counties participating will be conducted county level.
So what's going to be done in Upshur County and these other 20 counties would be what they would be doing as our local part of the Bluestone Dam project? Is that basically
That
it?
would be with regards to
What's
accommodating people who would be
Right.
leaving the southern part of the state,
Right, coming this way.
coming up this way.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve this Armory rental agreement and authorize signature of either one of these two gentlemen to sign the document.
Also moved.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Notice of public hearing, amendment to enhance 911 ordinance, 11 a.m. on Thursday, April the 4th, 2013. Increase from current monthly fee of $265 to residential $450, business and Centrex $650. So there's the notice of that. Correspondence from Association of State Floodplain Managers certifying Terry Jo Bennett, Upshur County Floodplain Manager, as ASFPM Certified Floodplain Manager on pages 6 and 7. Dear Mr. Tenney, we are pleased to inform you that one of your staff, Terry Jo Bennett, has successfully completed the process and examination to become an ASFPM certified floodplain manager. The ASFPM grants this certification only to those professionals who meet the requirements and complete a comprehensive examination on the programs and standards to reduce flood losses in the nation. More information about this program is easily accessible on the website. So we certainly want to congratulate Terry Jo, and my understanding it was a pretty tough test, but, and I believe there's 60-some in the state that have
60 or 61 only in the state, so
Yeah.
it is a, benefit to Upshur County and having Mrs. Bennett in the performance of her job duties as it relates to floodplain management and the resources
Right.
through this association and, the knowledge that's gained through the exam. So it is an accomplishment.
Right.
It's also essential to the residents of Upshur County to acquire flood insurance.
Yes.
It enhances our ability to assist them in that.
So we certainly congratulate her on that accomplishment. And we have our Upshur County building permits on page 8, and according to this, in February, we had building permits for construction in the amount of $428,000. Looks like most of them are residential. Things are moving along, and I'd say when spring breaks, we'll see that certainly increase. We have our monthly dog warden report and our Regional Jail Authority jail costs by county for fiscal year 2012 on 11 and 12. And if you look at Upshur County, see our per diem cost, partial reimbursement of $39,480, first day reimbursement of $77,000, net cost $348,000, and the net per diem is $36.55 of the 40. What is the new 40?
46.
4880 right now.
4880.
Yeah, and then
When's it?
July goes down to 4850.
48.50, 30-cent reduction. So the reimbursements back reduced the regional jail per diem per day from $48.80 to $36.50. So, and Willie, you were tracking that as far as the percentage of the total budget. How?
I'd have to look, but it's, I haven't looked lately, but, we've started out, and it's been on a declining rate until recently as a percent of the total budget. So, started out higher, but, we're around 10 or 11%.
Over total budgets. Is that the net regional jail cost?
No,
That's the gross.
That would be the gross. And on these, in this fiscal year, that ended in June of 2012, Upshur County, and the net was, the 8th lowest in the state. So, can't really complain or too much about, where we stand in relation to other counties. But, we've been up since then, as you gentlemen know. We did receive our last month's regional jail bill. It was just over $50,000, which previously caused us heartache and pain. Now it seems to be a gift. When we're averaging, $56,000 to $60,000 so far this, fiscal year. And so hopefully that trend will continue.
Yep, I can remember the days when it was $35,000 a month, but this is kind of like the scenario with gasoline. It went up to 60, and we were concerned about it. Now it's dropped back to 50, and we're happy. Gasoline went up to $4, and now it dropped back to, what, $3.79, and now we're tickled. But compared to 4 years ago when it was less than $2, so all things are relative. But and we're looking at and making some efforts to do what we can to reduce it even further, while still punishing people and rehabilitating them and protecting the citizens of Upshur County. So there's a lot of effort, even from the state level down to.
And as you gentlemen know, just for the press and the public, that's one of Ms. Pomeroy's, primary functions, and really one of the driving forces of, creating the position and bringing that individual on, was to help coordinate that activity. As we have been through the process, and other counties have been, successful in, with an individual that one of their main goals was coordination of that activity. We had in the past different departments that would do, the prosecutor do something, the circuit clerk or magistrates or whatever, but we had no coordination on a consistent basis. So that's, one of Ms. Pomeroy's functions, and trying to achieve the cooperation is the key.
Right. And looking at all the options
Yeah.
that we can save money and still do the job.
Well, it appears to be a priority in the legislative area this term with the justice reinvestment issues, the governor's legislation, which is being reviewed by the Senate and the House of Delegates. So that may, again, in some term, address this issue. Hopefully, in the long run, it will improve the state's budgetary expenditures in this area, at least
That's
on the
the
county
goal.
level. At least on the county level.
Okay, that's the goal.
Even in, the few months Ms. Pomeroy's been here, we've had some success in coordination of that, of catching mistakes, getting better information. Right. It's been difficult with the turnover of some of the administrative staff with the Regional Jail Authority, of making the circle of getting the information, and sort of like a dog chasing the tail sometimes. But, we've already seen some results.
Okay. All right. Well, that looks like what we have on the agenda. Do you gentlemen have anything else?
No.
Willie, anything else?
Have some paperwork and then stuff for this afternoon.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get started on the paperwork then.